What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be making some epoxy coffee coasters made from old recycled coffee bags I have. So first thing I had to do was cut up all these bags, which definitely took a minute, and I found just using a knife and a ruler was the best way to do it. This one, when I opened it up, I got really excited. I thought this coffee company created like a hidden treasure map, and I thought if I reassemble the pieces, it would make a whole picture. It didn't, but still super cool to see that inside. So I had a piece of scrap plywood laying around, and I decided to use some spray adhesive and see how well that would work. For the spray adhesive, you have to spray both surfaces, so I sprayed the back of the coffee bags and the board itself. Some of the bag material was thinner than others, and so it felt like it soaked through and wasn't maybe the best option, but as far as getting it to stick to the board, it wasn't terrible. You'll see later on in the video, though, some interesting results about this decision. And then I've just found this epoxy mix at Home Depot. It's fairly small, but usually for all the products I've used, it's a pretty good product. It's just 2 parts. You mix them equally together, and then go ahead and apply it. So I didn't mix enough, and so this first pour, I only got a few of the bags, and I had to go back and on the fly mix some more up real fast. But as far as just pouring epoxy, you're always going to get bubbles, and so just do your best to spread it how you want, and it's going to self-level. So I did my best here to apply it, and then you'll see me grab the other mix and finish off the board. And the next day I came back and took a look at the pour, and this first bag actually uplifted a little bit, which is a bummer to see. And there's some bumps along the surface, so I didn't do the best job of getting it smooth and flat, but it was an experiment, so I'm not too upset about it. I broke out the table saw so I could start cutting this board up. From there, I'm going to start chopping it into pieces so I can get the coasters I want. I used the table saw for a lot of cross cutting, but I also just wanted to see if I could use my little miter saw to try and just make it a little bit simpler than having to adjust the fence on the table saw every time. I just had to flip it over a couple times just my blade was not long enough to cut through the whole piece in one go. I did find that cutting it on the table saw was very nice as well, though. So really, just whatever your preference is. And here's a little cutting ASMR, I guess. One of the other reasons I did use the chop saw is the fact that when I poured it, I got some of these bubbles on the underside. And the few epoxy projects I've done, I've noticed that this happens a lot, and I'm not super concerned about it because they sand off fairly easily. But running them on a table saw when they're not flat didn't seem like getting the best. It didn't seem like I'd get the best result. So this is me using the chop saw to cut certain parts of that off. I did run them through upside down as well to cut off some of the bigger bubbles. Here is the almost ready to go planks, I guess you could say, or blanks. And this guy is probably the best one I got, and so this is going to be the size more or less I'm using. to cut all the rest too. And again, I kind of cut these quick and on the fly. I wasn't super precise, so you can see there's a little bit of an angle to this one, which is all right. The other hardest part was I had to trim some of these to get them to a reasonable coaster size, and that meant cutting off certain parts of the bags that I thought were really cool. Next, just sand all the edges with a really nice fine grit, and then use a little bit more aggressive grit for some of the other planks that had those epoxy bubbles on them. Some more cutting ASMR for you. And here's the resized cuts. I was really bummed about this stain. I don't know if it was because of the plywood or the stain itself, but it turned more into a brown and it wasn't really what I was going for. But again, these are just experiments. But of course, I immediately spilled. Here's the finished coasters. These are super fun to make. They're pretty simple. These are a fun little project. My next goal is to actually make a coffee table that is completely epoxied over and it's all underlaid with old coffee bags I have. Thanks for watching.